Okay, we are starting the review, and I'm going to do a little bit each day, a little bit of like reminders, and I'm going to kind of generally go in order of the stuff in the packet so that I just don't forget everything. So, on that blank notability doc, write yourself this word, factoring. Why? Because it's going to come up in every unit. We had factoring, every single unit. So if you're ever stuck on something complicated, if you can factor it, you should. All right. So, question back there? All right, let's not, just focus, please. All right, so we have factoring is the number one tip for you because when you get stuck on something, it's probably factoring. But let's go to something that's a little more like unusual. 2 times 3 is 6, times 3 is 18, dot, dot, dot. Could you, if I asked you to write me a description for this as a recursive formula, could you do it? You might be like, what are you even talking about? Well, that's the kind of thing that happens on the finals. Like, what are you even talking about? You start with u sub 0 equals, why don't you go from there? U sub 0 equals 2, good, because it's the starting number. And then what comes after that? U sub what?
1.
Nope. U sub n is equal to u sub n minus 1, and then it does something each time. That's called the common ratio or the common... Wait. The common thing that's happening, yes, it's times 3, but there's 2 names for it. Common ratio or common difference. Very good. Those are the 2 things. Common ratio or common difference. All right. So what is this? Is this times or is this add? It's times 3, so you'd put a times 3. And that times 3, at times probably would be like a star or like a dot. Okay, there. So this one is, well, there's 2 kinds, arithmetic or geometric. Which kind is this? Geometric is the kind where you multiply. Now, maybe you knew that. All right, next up is, when I asked a second ago to write me this description, most of you guys just looked at me funny. But now that you see it, it's not that hard, is it? But what did I leave out that a lot of people will forget? N is greater than or equal to. All right. And then it's always 1 bigger than this. So if I started with 0, I put a 1 there. All right. That's called the domain. All right. Next thing. What is the common ratio? Three. The common ratio is part of this, and it's that. That's the common ratio. When they ask you for the common ratio, it's that thing. Now, how could I have gotten it? It says ratio. Would you agree that that means that something is divided by something? That's what ratio means, right? 6 divided by the 2 would give you the common ratio. All right, there's some terminology that you're going to have to know for the first one. Things like the domain that everybody forgets. All right, so what if I did another one, and this time I give you the equation. Un equals un minus 1 plus 6, and this was u1. Actually, let's make it u11 is equal to 20. Now, what's the first term? You might be thinking, well, I got to go figure out what u sub 1 is. Nope. What is the first term? Say it if you know it. The first term is 20. Good. Because whatever they write there, that's the first term. All right, what if I wanted the third term? It wouldn't be u sub 3, would it? If the first term is u11, what's the second term? U sub 12. What's the third term? U sub 13. Okay, good. So that's another thing that people get messed up, is that they think somehow you always start with u sub 1. You do not. You start with whatever they tell you to start with. All right, this one's adding, so it's not geometric, it's arithmetic. Okay, good. What is the common and what? Common what? What is this thing called? It's not a common ratio. Common difference. What's the common difference? 6. All right, good. So, the next general, I noticed this because I took the final, like I did the whole final to make a key, to make sure that the key wasn't messed up. So I made my own key, checked it again. So I did the whole final. And here's the kind of problem that I noticed was on there all the time. Can you write me an equation for a problem where you borrow $10,000 and you pay back $250 a month? Do you remember how to do that? If not, I'll show you. But why don't we just start with, if we were going to put this in a calculator, do you remember that deal? We always used u sub 0 for the kind that were loans or investments. And then u sub n equals u sub n minus 1. Can you make me this one where it's a loan and you're paying $250 per month? And let's say it's a student loan, so the rate's only 3%. Do you know how to write this? There were tons of questions on the final about this. Hint, there's a divided by 12 in it because it's monthly. Do you remember that there was a parentheses here? Do you remember that there was a 1 plus right there? Then the rate divided by 12. Been a long time, hasn't it? And then the monthly payments minus 250 or plus 250? Minus. That's the only way you can tell this is not an investment. Do you remember that deal where if that's a minus, it's a loan and you're paying it off because you want it to shrink by 250 every month? How did I know it was monthly? Because I put a divide 12 there. For sure on the test, multiple places. What if I change it to an investment? Only one thing I gotta change. And that would mean I'm adding 250 every month to my investment and I'm making it grow and it's getting 3%. And it's compounded monthly. That coming back to you? Remember those? All right. Would you remember how to put it in the calculator? Because you'll need to. Your final is calc aloud on the whole thing, which means that like things like this, you'll have to calc. Let's get into sequence mode. If you want to borrow a calculator, be smart. Can't use your iPad calculator on the test. You want to borrow one of mine. If I were you, I'd come up and borrow one. A cell phone or something valuable. Do you even remember how to get it in that mode? Because it wouldn't just be, do you know the formula? It would be, use the formula to figure out how long it takes to pay this off. Well, actually, I'd like it to pay off a lot quicker because otherwise I'll have to like arrow down forever. So let's make this one more zero. We're going to pay $2,500 a month, which means this will get paid off pretty quick. Huge payments. Okay, we're going to put that in. Who knows what the first thing is you got to do on your calculator? What? Y equals, kind of, except y equal won't bring you to the right place unless you do something first. Sequence mode. Go to mode. You'll all have a mode button on your calculator. Mode. And then arrow down to SEQ. I'm going to ask you to show me this in a second, so please don't just like, I'll do it later. Do it now. Sequence mode. Once you're got it in sequence mode, then you have to tell it this, but it's not in this order. The first thing that you'll have to tell it is n min. For our problem, what is the n min? Here's where n is. What is our lowest n? 0. Because of right there, see? N min is 0. Now, it says u sub n, and what do you tell it? U subscript is a parentheses, n minus 1. And you'd put all of this in there. Parentheses 1 plus 0.03 divided by 12, parentheses minus. Remember, it's $2,500. We want the payments to not last forever. So we're making big payments of $2,500 a month. Then, here's the two hard questions we could ask about that. It wouldn't be as simple as how many months did it take to pay off. That's pretty easy. You look on your little table and you figure out, oh my gosh, at U sub 3, it's paid off, or whatever. It would be, how much total did you pay? And how much interest was there? Would you agree you're going to have to pay them more than $10,000? So if you figure out that you paid them $10,100, then you must have paid $100 in interest. So just figure out the total that you paid. How do you figure out the total you paid? Well, you know how much your payments are, $2,500, and you know how many payments you had to make. So you can times them together, and don't forget that they're going to owe you money back at the end. All right, so get this all in your calculator and then pull up the table, and then you should find on the table that you owe less and less and less until finally at like one of your entries on the table, it'll be negative something. Can somebody read me the negative number that you get? Because then if other people can know that they're doing it right. Okay, I can tell I gave you too much there. You need to remember how to put this in. Take a minute right now. And if you are stuck, ask the kid next to you. And we're going to see how many months it takes to pay off, and then we'll have this negative number, and then we'll talk about what to do with that negative number. I'll pause for a minute while you put that in on your calculator. Okay. So the one thing that we didn't talk about, and I kind of assumed, was that you'd know that the 10,000 goes in as the third thing. So just for those at home maybe. Then this one is U n min, which means U sub 0. Since I defined n min as 0, this means what is U sub 0? And they basically know, what do you want me to start with? Okay, cool. And now we came to a number that was like negative 2,000. I can't remember what. Would you look on your calculator, Keenan? I know you had it. Negative 2,000 something.
Negative 2,437.
Okay, now this is important. I know some of you got started on your packet again. Look up, because this has cost you on the test. If you just take this number at its face value and you think, oh, the answer is they owe me 2,437 back, you're wrong. Arrow over it, and when you get on top of it, it'll tell you the exact number to the penny. Do you get what I'm talking about? On your calculator, can you remove your headphones again, please? It was fine before, but I need you back with me now. So go on to it and tell me what the decimal is. Keenan, exactly what is it?
2,437.03.
Okay, that's exactly what they owe you back. We're going to do it to the penny. So now, that was your fifth payment. After your fifth payment, they owe you money back. So really, you gave them 5 payments times 2,500, but now they owe you back minus, like that, you're going to not pay this because they're going to pay it back to you, 2,437.03. That's how you'd get what you paid total. Your 5 payments minus what they owe you back. That will be more than $10,000. How do I know that? Because you borrowed $10,000. They're going to make you pay back $10,000 plus more. And whatever is over the $10,000, that's the interest. All right. I know many of you would not have got that test question right. But now that we've gone through one like that, there's not that many R3s on the test. That's one of them. That's very likely to be on the test. And I know that a lot of people would have forgot that. So now, I don't want to take too much of your time today. So for today, that's all of my tips and help. And I want you to just keep working through the packet. And I will give you a few more tips tomorrow. And then a few more tips the next day. And we'll just have a few minutes of tips that I think are really important each day. All right, that's all I got for you for today.